Hi everybody, Al Bernstein here with a gentleman who I've been anxious to interview for some time, and I'm glad we got the time to get together. Alan Swyer, who is the director of a very wonderful movie called El Boxeo, which chronicles the struggles, the successes of Hispanic fighters here in America. And it's a remarkable film. And what was your motivation for doing it?
Aside from the fact that I'd participated in 3 sports growing up and I'd already done one on basketball and one on baseball, I realized that there's a misconception. People think that boxing has faded. In fact, boxing is bigger than ever. It simply has changed and become an international sport, and it's largely dominated by Latinos, both in the ring and in the stands.
And the fighters that you've chronicled in this film and the people connected with it really give a wonderful and very layered view of everything that has happened with the Latino and Hispanic boxers.
Well, you know, our joke about making the film while we were interviewing people was that it's not a film about boxing. It's a film about race, language, culture, politics, economics, and boxing. And we wanted to make it about the people who fought their way out of poverty and became, in the process, icons for their countrymen.
And some of the stories, you know, there's so many stories that you depict in there, and there's so many champions that you chronicle. Tell me one or two of them, or a couple, that you were, if anything, surprised you when you were interviewing them and you saw some things about them, anything that really struck you?
Well, what's really interesting is how warm these people are. You know, people think in terms of boxing as being a brutal sport. I think it's the friendliest sport in the world. When you go to a gym, everybody shakes your hand when you enter, everybody shakes your hand when you leave. But these guys, the struggle that they've gone through, Sergio Martinez said to me at one point, you know, I didn't know what dinner was until I was 14 years old. You know, Rodolfo El Gato Gonzalez talked to me about how he snuck across the border because his family had nothing, and he wanted to make life better for them. How could I not be moved by that?
No, absolutely. And you deal a lot in the film also with the business side of the boxing and how it all played itself out. Some of the great matchmakers and promoters that were involved, and they were fascinating characters.
Well, we've got some real, they're larger than life figures in boxing. When you talk about Don Warwick Chargan, when you talk about today, still going strong, Bob Arum, these are amazing, amazing people who love the sport. The difference is that in other sports, the businessmen have taken over, the people we call the suits. In boxing, it's largely still boxing guys, which is really, really fun. They are Damon Runyon characters. The fact that Aram went to Harvard Law School and worked for Bobby Kennedy, he has evolved a little bit.
Just a switch. Not quite the same guy that had that job, I don't think.
You know, Lou DiBella, and you know, and they're just really interesting. They've lived lives. It's like the difference between the old Hollywood directors, you know, the Howard Hawkses and John Fords, who were John Huston, who lived amazing lives and put that on screen. And now you've got largely kids who grew up watching movies. So there's no sense of life. It's about the movies that they've seen.
Oh, that's fascinating. That's a very good analogy. When you were putting together the guest list for this movie, and you were trying to figure out how to put it all together, which seems like a daunting task to me, did it change as you were doing it at all? Was it a living, evolving kind of a thing?
Well, first of all, I've done a million Q&As over the years, and people always say to me, do you have a real firm sense of what a documentary is going to be before you start? And my response is, you have to have a very firm sense and hope you find a better movie.
Yeah.
Similarly with the people on screen, every door opened 15 other doors. So that somebody, you know, we'd stumble upon somebody, because obviously one wants to get the big names, but you get other people who knew that John Bray would say, you know, a heavyweight that people have largely forgotten, but is a great guy, would come up with one of the most amazing lines in the film.
A Mexican fighter is willing to die in the ring.
So by having the John Brays of the world and the Pepe Correas of the world and the Richard Steeles of the world, in addition to Chavez Sr. and Sugar Ray Leonard and Boom Boom Mancini and Al Bernstein and Larry Merchant. I got to get him in too. You know, it's really wonderful to get the highs and the lows, and to have Jose Suleiman be part of the film. It's the last real serious interview he ever gave. And Jimmy Lennon Jr., who's part of a continuum, because Jimmy's a great ring announcer, and his dad was probably the best of all time. But it's people really rallied behind us, and they said, "Oh, you got to meet my friend," or "Hey, what about so and so?" People who I thought were no longer alive. And then out of the blue, I said, it was Paco Valcarcel who said to me, "You want to get Hana Gabrielle's?" When we were in Puerto Rico for a fight, and I said I'd love to. So once we got her, we said, "Oh, let's get Mia St. John also," and both of them were fantastic.
Oh, that's
because obviously that is another component of the fight world.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for throwing me in with that important group. It's a wonder.
You just about steal the movie, as a matter of fact.
No, don't. I'm too modest to even agree with that. No, it is a remarkable film. And now tell people, I know it's available already. Tell people how they can get this film, and I know it's going to have a run elsewhere and be seen elsewhere, but you can get copies of it right now.
Right now, you can get it video on demand. You can buy a DVD, get a download or streaming by going to our website. And even if you don't buy it, go and watch the trailer, please. www.elboxeo, ELBOXEO, themovie.com. Or if you speak Spanish, elboxeolapeliculaa.com.
All right, yeah, it's well worth looking at. This is a wonderful film, and I'm not surprised that people were supportive and helped in the process of it, because it felt like a story that should be told.
Thank you so much, and I will tell you, we did a benefit screening for the West Coast Boxing Hall of Fame and the Retired Boxers Association in Santa Monica, and I wish you'd been present, because we had 15 ex-champs, as well as people like Bruce Trampler, Miguel Diaz flew in, Jimmy Lennon Jr., Larry Merchant, a lot of the boxing community came out, and we brought them all on stage afterwards, and it was really, really moving. So it's great. And when we did a screening at a festival in Manhattan, same thing. People came out. The boxing community has embraced the film. When we did a screening in Mexico, the boxing community, and I should say that Mauricio Suleiman has been great, and Paco Valcarcel has been great. The WBC and the WBO are really disseminating, spreading the word, because they think that it really is important for people to understand the history of the sport and the importance in their worlds. Think of it, the NFL, we think of all the major institutions in big sports being American. WBC, Mexico City, WBO, San Juan, Puerto Rico. Those are really, in those places, boxing is not just a passion, it's a religion. Yeah, absolutely. Well, this film is well worth taking a look at. Alan, thank you so much for visiting with us. It was an honor to be a part of this, and you've created a great thing. I'm just flattered that you're in the film and that you're helping us spread the word. As I said, you steal the movie, though. Well, it's a wonderful film, and I'll tell you what, it is so layered and so nuanced and so interesting that you will enjoy it. Alan Swyer, thank you. I'm Mel Bernstein for the Boxing Channel.